All right, all right. Hello, everybody. It is your girl, Michelle Kanan, also known as a satisfied wife. Welcome, welcome. I'm here today with an amazing human. Her name is Jessie DaSilva. I like to call her my money witch, but I'm going to let her do her fabulous introduction for herself. I'm so excited because, just in case you don't know, I've opened the doors for Goddess Wife School again, and every time I open doors for this program, part of my pleasure and part of what gets me really excited is to have amazing alumni from past rounds of the program join me live. We get to catch up. They get to give me some celebrations and some brags. And it gets me so excited about doing Goddess Wife School again. And just to see how the effects from the program just last for so long. And also in so many surprising ways. So first, I'm going to let Jessie introduce herself, and then we're just going to gab and hang out. If you're watching here live, leave a comment. And if you're watching the replay, just leave #replay in the comments. Ask us any questions. Jessie's a wealth of information. And what we're going to be talking about today is how your relationship and how hot and sexy a relationship is directly linked to money making, abundance, business success, and why it's so important to keep the fire going with your man, especially if you own your own business, especially if you want to be a rich bitch, especially if you want to feel abundant. And so keeping the spark alive is just one of the most powerful things that you can do. And that's not what they teach in business school. Is it, Jessie?
Well, I didn't go to business school, so I wouldn't know. So, but I'm assuming not. I'm assuming they don't teach
not.
That.
They should. So Jessie, introduce yourself to everybody.
Sure. I'm Jessie DaSilva. I'm known online as the Millennial Money Witch. I describe myself as a money mindset and manifestation coach and a business consultant. I work with three kinds of people. Basically people who are looking to start and scale businesses, people looking to land their dream jobs at dream companies for dream pay. And I also work with companies to help them increase profits and retain and attract top talent by implementing people first policies. So those are the places that I work in. Those are my fields. And my expertise is in money, how to make it, how to keep it, then how to make more of it.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually just got a book deal for it. So woo woo, I'm excited. And I'm really pumped to talk about Goddess Wife School because I've done the program twice and it changed my relationship for the better in a way that nothing else ever worked. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to talk about it. And we're actually our 5-year anniversary is next week.
Oh my God. Are you guys Valentine's Day anniversary babies?
No, we're the President's Day. So we have a running joke that President's Day is the best holiday because that's the day that we made it official. So
we're super cheese. We basically conceived our daughter on or around Valentine's Day. So we're cheese balls.
Oh, wow. I love that. Yeah, that's always a really fun and gross activity when you reverse calculate when you were conceived. You're ew. I'm my parents' first anniversary baby. I was conceived that weekend. Whoa, right? So Paz is gonna do that with her friends one day. She's gonna be
super excited about that. Right. We're gonna ruin Valentine's Day forever. Okay, so you said that Goddess Wife School changed your relationship in just so many ways that, and you're so excited to be here. Can you tell the women that are watching, because Goddess Wife School is a really big title and something really big to live up to. And also you're not married either. You're in a partnership, but you're not a wife per se. Can you talk about your experience in Goddess Wife School and what you love so much about it?
Sure. I have to apologize. My nose is running. I've been having an allergy attack since last night. So for those of you watching, bear with me.
Basically, whenever Jessie talks about Goddess Wife School, she just starts gushing from
literally gushing. Yeah, I'm literally so wet on my face right now. So, so basically, we've been when I came to you, Michelle, we had met through having the same coach and things like that, and very quickly became friends. And the issue I was having was basically we kind of had this very cyclical fight cycle where it was the same things. We'd fight about the same things, almost like clockwork every 2 to 4 months. We'd try to find a resolution, but not really, or it would serve us for a little bit, and it would always come back around to the same issues. And it was constantly bringing us to this point of like, do we even want this? Like, is this an issue of compatibility, or is this an issue of like, is this something we can resolve? And so that was like the cycle we were stuck in. You know, our intimacy was kind of like on a downward slope. We'd kind of become like parallel. I call it leading parallel lives, where it's like we're living together, we're here, we're checking in every day, but there's not that level of connection that was feeding either of us. So yeah, that's like where things were. And you know, I want to put out there for like, you know, all of like the feminists. I was like cringe at first. I was like, oh, like goddess wife, cringe. Like, no. And like everything Michelle talked about would like very much activate me in a sense of like, you know, well, like, why do I need to work on myself because he's not like, this isn't the relationship we want? Like, why am I the problem then? Because like, but I realized that that was literally one of the issues, was that I had this viewpoint of like, it's not me, I'm blameless, I'm totally fine here, I'm like the best partner ever, he just doesn't know how to show up. Like, it was that kind of thing. But you know, after having gone through so many, you know, so many of this cycle, I just kind of got to this point where I was like, you know what, like, anything, I'll take anything, right? Like, we had not gone to couples counseling before, but it had been like back and forth on like, should we go, should we not, I don't know. And then what was also going on with my business is that like, it was really hard for me to show up with the right energy for attracting clients and for doing sales calls, because it's like, when you're going through shit in your relationship, it's just like, it's so hard to then get on a sales call and like be excited about what you do. Especially if one of the recurring issues is around your business. That's the other thing too, is that like, I always felt really defensive, like he wasn't supportive. And I learned from Michelle that that wasn't the case, but that's basically like what brought me there. And I'll say what came out on the other side. And granted, this was after 2 rounds. Like, I had a really solid result the first time, and I was like the worst student. Like, I barely did anything. I showed up for like half the calls because I ended up taking a trip in the middle. And things were wonderful. And then I ended up coming back around for a second one because, you know, I didn't learn a lot of the foundation that I needed. And so I came back, I did it a second time. And I can say like safely now, like months later, our relationship is the best it's ever been. We feel more like partners than ever before. Our communication is incredible. We feel like a team. I feel like he supports me, even if and when he expresses doubt or frustration. And like, really, like, I see my relationship as like one of the strongest things in my life. So
I love
yeah.
that. I'm so happy to hear that. Like, I selfishly do these interviews because I want everybody else to hear about like what's possible, especially if you're watching. And I know this from my relationship in the past, like having those cyclical fights and bickering and feeling like, okay, things are okay, but then there's still that stuff that's like niggling beneath the surface, and
Right.
how much of a shift can happen. And Jessie sent me a message. She didn't even know that I was opening doors for Goddess Wife School again. Can I read the message that you sent?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
She DM'd me. She's like, I feel like I need to write you a new testimonial for Goddess Wife School because of how incredible my relationship has become. It really feels so perfect and loving and supportive. I'll tell you more, but in the meantime, I just need to say thank you. I wasn't sure we could find the spark again, but it's back and it's hot. So you know that when you're in my private containers, I mean, I write salacious things in my post, but we like to talk about all the juicy stuff. Like, is there anything that you want to brag or share about like the spark? Because I want to talk about like heat in relationship and intimacy and that kind of sexual connection. And then I also want to talk about your expertise, which is in making money, holding money, like creating abundance. And something that you were mentioning before that was an issue in the relationship was that you felt like your partner wasn't being supportive, and you felt like you were struggling a lot in your business, and a lot of things started to shift once you realized that actually the challenges you were having was this initiation from him to step up into your business and to relate to it with a different kind of energy and in a different kind of way that felt really good and really nourishing for you too. And I know a lot of the women that are watching this, and say hi, by the way. I know Aline is here. She said hi, but I see a bunch of you guys are watching. So don't be shy to leave a comment or ask any questions about that, especially if you might be going through something similar to what me and Jessie have been talking about. So can you talk a little bit about what Reigniting the Spark did for your business and how it's connected to money making and abundance? Okay, yay, everyone's commenting. Hi, everybody. Jessie, do you mind sharing some of your experience and insight with that?
Absolutely. So basically, oh, sorry, I feel like I'm thinking there's a sneeze, but I don't know. So I'm like, okay. So basically, like, part of the issue is that, like, he's really stressed out in a PhD program. And it's like, he's also not someone who does anything half-assed. Like, I was not a great student whenever I have been in school. I love learning, but traditional education where I have to sit there and I have to like be self-disciplined, I really struggle with that. So something that would happen honestly is like what I realized from Goddess Wife School was like, when I started looking to myself, not to blame things, but really just being curious about my motivations and like why I was doing things, and being curious about my moods as well. Like, why am I feeling this way? What's going on? Like, is it really about this or is it about something else? Right. So that was something that happened. And then also, Michelle also just kind of shows you, she like really leads by example in showing you like how to look for the ways that your man appreciates you. Not just that, but also reframing any kind of concerns or doubts or things that he has around business and your money and things like that. So what she really drove home for me was like how much men are conditioned to think like providers. So even though like our dynamic before I had started my business was that I was the main breadwinner, I was like an attorney, I had an attorney salary, like I paid most of our bills like and happily. And then when I decided to start this business, like money became a huge fighting point. And I naturally took that as like an attack on me. And then I naturally felt resentful because I was like, oh, I have to like stay in a shitty career that I don't love because like you have a problem with this, blah, blah, blah. And like, really? And, I've always thought of myself as an empathetic person, but like Michelle taught me how to take it to a new level and really see things through his perspective, where it was like, yeah, you ripped the rug out from under him. And like the thing he's concerned about more than anything is both of your safety and both of your stability. And like, that's his job. That is his job. That's what he has in his head. And like, no matter how progressive he is, no matter like, how in touch with his feminine he is, no matter like, cause like, I'm very much like, I was like, I want a beta man. Like, I want like a man who's going to like support me because like, I'm very career driven. I'm very like, to be honest, I'm very self-centered. Like I want things from my life. And so I didn't want to compete with somebody else's career. I didn't want to compete with like somebody else with huge, huge ambitions. And so that's why I was getting really frustrated with this, because I was like, what is this? Like, why aren't you supporting me now? It's just because like I have to have this like salary, I have to do these things. And I learned to see it totally differently. I learned to see things truly from his perspective and to hear love when he expressed doubt. So that was one thing I shifted to, was like, if he were saying this with love, what is he communicating about like what he wants for me? Like that was a huge part of this. And what I started seeing is he does love me. He does support me. He like absolutely wants me to succeed. But B, he doesn't want me to suffer. And he doesn't want me to be putting myself in situations with my business to suffer. and like being open to like finding stability, finding financial stability. That was like him keeping me grounded and him caring not for himself, but like caring for us as a unit. Because like that stress, that was like what was pulling us apart as well. And me being defensive about it was not helping.
Mm.
So
So powerful, Jessie.
yeah, and like then our conversations just totally took on a new light where it was like suddenly I could hear him and understand in a way I hadn't before. Just like it was just like magic. Like I just understood and I listened more. And I thought again, I thought I was a good listener, but I wasn't a listener in the right way because I was listening to defend myself rather than listening like, you know, where is his wisdom? So one of the topics that would always come up when we would argue was he always winds up being right. I never listen to him and he always winds up being right. And that's like that was something that was like huge for me to swallow, but like I started also hearing criticisms of me as again like ways for him to like make us better. So like one thing, like we had a tiff one time in the car and he just said like, I don't know why you can't apologize. He was like, I don't know why you will like defend yourself and you'll dig your heels in when all I want to hear is I'm sorry. And the crazy thing is that that was a problem I had with all my exes, meaning like they would never say they were sorry to me. And I was like, oh shit. And so rather than like, again, being defensive about it, I was like, why don't I? Why don't I do that? What is it? Because I'm a lawyer. No, it's definitely not because of that. Because I have no problems doing it with other people. And that was the thing is that like, you know, apologies to me are really important. And I was like, why am I doing that? Why am I so insistent on being right all the time? Why am I so insistent on being right? And so I just like it kind of just opened my eyes and opened my mind to hear him better.
Yeah.
And like something I've started doing is like literally listening to him, not in a way that like I have to obey him and do what he says, but that like he's got a perspective and a point of view that's super valid and that like I don't think in that way. And just like you know, traditional diversity brings forth people with different perspectives and like you know, better
Ways of
advice.
doing things, right?
That's exactly what he was bringing to the table. And I was refusing to be served. Like,
Yeah.
that's honestly how it was.
Yeah, because so many of us, like as strong women, visionary women, self-centered women, we were either taught to, or for so long we had to do things on our own and kind of like put our blinders on and roll up our sleeves and just like get her done. And we figured out definitely one very effective way to do it. But we have such an opportunity in partnership, right? Like when you have a relationship with someone,
Mhm.
for whatever reason you got together, maybe you're lonely or you're attracted or like whatever it is, what you get, what many people don't realize is now you have a whole other person with a whole different set of skills and resources and all this energy. And so like if you can combine forces with them, if you can see his gift and let it in, and not only do you have like such a crazy different kind of experience, but it also is a healing journey of its own. Like it's also a
Absolutely.
disarmoring journey and
Mhm.
a journey towards like a different way of being and learning how not to have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders and not to have to be the one to do it alone and not to have to be like the tough one or the strong one or even the right one all the time. And so one of the things that I love when women in Goddess Wife School understand and discover is what a healing portal our relationships can be, especially in those moments of struggle where we're just like, oh wait, shit, why do I do that? Why
Mhm.
am I showing up like that? And I don't have to anymore. And what else can happen when I show up in a different way that feels better for me? And that also like includes my partner too.
Yeah. It's honestly like amazing and like it changed the way we argued as well. Like, you know, very much like, you know, I have anxious attachment, which is something I'm like working on. But when I realized that I started listening to like how he was right, then and like when we would argue even when I started listening for the ways in which he was right and like how I could respond to that and like be a better version of myself or take accountability for the shit I was bringing to like the falling out. He started bringing that too. Like the honestly, like the thing that really like showed me how far we came was that like I got sick with COVID from traveling in December. And like here's what happened. Let me explain. So like I intuitively knew on some level I should cancel this trip, cancel this trip. Like it was niggling me at the back of my mind. It was like really telling me like, I don't think you should go, you should cancel. And I kept saying to him, like, should I cancel this? Even though it's like, but I had all these excuses. I was like, my sister paid for my flight, and like Christmas is also her birthday, and I don't want her to feel alone because we don't celebrate with our families. And I like made this commitment to her. Like, you know, I always want her to like have somebody there on her birthday, even though she's got like a best friend in town. And, you know, I just had this like, you know, I was letting these things get to me, and I kept asking him, should I go? Should I go? Should I go? And he was like, you know, he was like, I really don't think you should go. Like, you know, he's like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. So I'm not going to tell you what to do, but like this variant is really crazy. Like for COVID, I've been reading a lot about it, and it's like, it's going to be running through everybody. So, but it's up to you. You gotta decide if you want to go.
And so for those of you that are listening, I'm just going to point out some nuggets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jessie asked her man for, you know, what he thinks or for his input or his guidance. And he very clearly, he gave it to her, right?
And I ignored it. Yeah.
And she ignored it, right? So I just want to say, for those of you that are like triggered by wife or goddess wife or the concepts of like surrender or like needing to listen to your man, this isn't about taking orders, right? This isn't about being subservient or being forced to do things that you don't want. Jessie is really modeling like a way of like interacting or letting in. But let's see what happens next in this story.
I will get there. So, and like there was something going on with him as well, where he was like, you know, planning to go see his mom, where like they've not had the best Christmases together. And so for me, it was like in the past, I would get like, you shouldn't be going. Like, I don't think you should go. Like, this is going to be terrible, blah, 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 blah. Like, I would just like rag on him, not in a way of like trying to be like, I told you so, but trying to be like, you know, I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want you to have a bad holiday. I don't want you to feel that way. You know, I want the best for you. And so, but, you know, he had his heart set on it. So I said the same thing. I was like, you know, like, if you're going to ask me, no, I don't think you should go, but you know, it's not up to me. It's your life. You got to like, you know, I understand how you feel. And I was saying like, the only thing I care about is like, we have a plan for celebrating together. Like, how are we doing things like, cause we're engaged. So it's like, how are we doing things now? How will we do things after we're married? How will we do things once we have kids in the picture? And so we talked about that, where it was like, okay, until there are kids every other year, he was like, I'll do one holiday with you and I'll do a holiday with my mom, and like back and forth. I'm like, sounds great. That sounds great. And here's the thing too, another layer to this was that earlier in the month, and like even in November, he was like, we should go somewhere for Christmas. I feel like we should go somewhere for Christmas. And I was just like hanging on to my money, and I was like, no. I was like, I don't feel like I can afford that. I don't think so. No. I was like, like I felt obligated to go spend the holiday with my sister, all of this stuff.
Do we lose Jessie?
I go. Can you still see me?
Yeah, you're back. You just froze for a second.
Mm-hmm. So I was saying like, you know, he had said we should go somewhere for Christmas, and I kind of like knocked it down because I really wanted to spend it with my sister. And then the COVID variant, like the Omicron was happening, and I asked him, should I go? And he was like, really don't think so, but like, you know, you got to live your life.
I should. My fault. Yeah.
That's okay. So I go, and I got COVID, like on the plane, got it, had like spread it to 3 people. Like my sister, her best friend, and then the one friend I saw in DC that I know of. It's like I probably spread it to other people. I felt horrible. My sister and I ended up getting into a fight because it was like I went with these expectations of like spending time with her and like celebrating her birthday. And she had all of this end of year shit going on, where it was like trying to meet her bonus at her job by like hitting the hours. She was also like babysitting all these dogs, which I didn't know about.
You were sick. And it was like you had a fight
And it
with
was
her.
a shit
A shitty
show. And then it
experience.
was like, I'm like cooking and like trying to make the holiday special. And it was like, she didn't want it to be special. Like she was miserable and she was dedicated to staying miserable. And so we ended up getting into a fight because then it was like she got COVID. And then, you know, she was like, she didn't want to share a bed with me, even though that's what she invited me to do. It was like a whole thing. And I like got upset and I was like, all like, I was sick. I was felt terrible. And I ended up checking into a hotel and like for like my last several days had to push my flight back because I was still testing positive. And what happened was that when I got to this point where I was like, okay, I'm going to come back on the plane. Like I was like, you know, I'm going to be double masked. I I'm not negative yet, but I'm outside the window, but like
Yeah.
I need to come home. Like I am so sick. I can't stay in this hotel anymore. I can't afford this. Like I need to be like in isolation in our house. And he lost it. He was like, that's when it was like, you should have listened to me. Like I told you not to go on this trip and you did it anyway. And like I definitely had COVID fatigue. Like I was not taking it seriously. I have a great immune system, but I'd been sick like a week before. So I ended up getting it. And so he was like, you took your mask off on the plane to drink water and like it's your fault. And like he's like, and now you want to come back and you're gonna give it to me. And like I can't afford to be sick. The semester's starting. And I was like so hurt. I was so hurt by everything he was saying. And I was like, you know, and we're like so mad at each other. And I was just like, you know, because he had also had a terrible holiday, as I thought. And we'd had this like beautiful come to Jesus moment where I was just like, maybe it's time to like stop celebrating with your mom. And like maybe it's time for me to stop celebrating with my sister and really us focus on us having a good holiday together. Like maybe we should actually go travel and things like that. And he was like, yeah, I love that idea. I think that we should definitely do that. And I was like, perfect. From now on, it's us. Like we are prioritizing
Mm.
our Christmases and our relationship. So we'd had that moment. And then like he's all mad at me. And the thing I did was like, I allowed us to go to bed mad. I was just like, I ranted to my friends. I got it all out. I was like, what the fuck's his problem? And how dare he say that? Like, he's being so hurtful to me. I'm so hurt. I feel like terrible. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then the next day, which was the day I was coming back, mind you, like the next day, you know, we actually texted about it, but, you know, he basically immediately was like, you know, I'm sorry for losing my cool. He was like, you know, obviously I want you home. I love you and I miss you. And he was like, but I'm really upset about these things. And like, you never listen to me. And I
Mm.
am always right. I'm
Mhm.
always right. And basically I came to it and I said, you're absolutely right. I never listened to you and you are always right. And I'm sorry, like I'm trying to do it more often, but like this is new to me. And so I'm asking for your patience as I like learn to listen to you. I was like, and you can remind me, like, I need you to like point out when I'm being stubborn, like, tell me. And he was like, okay. And then the other thing I said, I was like, but part of me like feels alone when I make mistakes because unless I've done everything like the way you would have, I feel like you deny me support in those moments when like I really need you to be there with me, not telling me more about how right you were and how wrong I am. I was like, I believe me, I have spent 4 days alone in a hotel. I know,
And what he
I
said.
know. And he was just, and I was honestly shocked because how he responded was, you're absolutely right. He was like, I do get into that mindset of like, I'm right, you should have listened. And I, you know, get upset. He was like, and I'm going to do better with that too. And I was like, and like we like had like it was just and he was like, can't wait to see you, like I'm excited, you know. He was like, I can't wait till you get home. I'm gonna set everything up in your office so you can like be nice and comfortable. And like when I came back, he had the air mattress like blown up like perfectly. He like literally had two sets of pajamas laid out for me. He made the bed. He put like my stuffed bunny, who like is more of a decoration, but I used to cuddle her all the time. So he like put my bunny in there. He put all my little favorite things like in my office, like around the bed, and like, you know, it was just like fully set up. And for the days that I was isolated in there, which he never got COVID, thankfully he never got it, but it was like he cooked meals and like brought me meals, and like, you know, it was just like he just showed up for me in a way that like I really needed, and that really proved to me like, you know, like what a partner he is to me. And like
Mm.
that's what it's about. It kind of reminds me of like, you know, there's the Shakespeare play Taming of the Shrew, and there's this whole monologue that she gives at the end where she's basically explaining like, um and it's like, it's hard now because now feminists like will take offense to it because they don't really understand the context of what she's saying. But
Right.
she goes off on this whole speech where she says like, you know, you have to listen to your husband. If he says if he says it's night outside and it's daytime, you accept that it's night. Like you have to take all your cues from him. And she ends it with saying like, you know, basically like I put my hand beneath my husband's foot for him to step on it as he pleases. And like that, and people like now are like, but what she's saying is
Element.
that like I place it there because I know and I trust he would never step on it
Yep.
because he places his hand beneath my foot as well.
Mm.
And like that's really what the message is. And like it's such, and like that's what I learned how to do from Goddess Wife School, is to like really get to this place where like I can place my hand beneath his foot because I know my hand is under his as well.
I mean, what you're talking about is trust, is like
Mhm.
having the deep, deep trust that so many women are afraid, and trust and respect that
Right.
so many women are afraid to give their man because
Mhm.
of past trauma that they might have gone through, or because of what we've seen our mothers or grandmothers or past generations go through, because of the messages from society. And this
Mhm.
is really edgy work, you know, this is
Mhm.
really edgy to talk about, but we're not talking about men. We're talking about the man that you are choosing to be in a relationship with, and that is also choosing to be in relationship with you too, and how you can start to show up in a different way so that you can heal that trauma, so that you can
Right.
yourself that there's a different kind of experience that you can have in partnership. But if you're going to be a partner, are you showing up in a way that allows him to be the partner? Like, are you even giving him the opportunity to be that trustworthy? Or if
Yeah.
you don't, like, for those of us that are business owners and you're thinking about like a business partnership, and then you think about the ways that we don't listen to our husbands or our partners, or we don't really take their advice, or we think that they're too slow, or that they're not deep, or they're not emotional, or they can't be sensitive. Like, we just make all these judgments about them and then
Mhm.
treat them from that kind of stereotypical place. So of course, right, like it manifests,
Mhm.
like we get what we're expecting, and that's what manifests in the relationship. And I just love so many things that you said and that you shared, because I also had that moment when I realized, like, oh my God, like my husband is always right. It's like a joke in my family because I'm so self-righteous and I always know what's right and I always know the next step and I always know what to do, and it works, but it's not always, doesn't always feel good, and it's not
Right.
always nourishing, and it doesn't always give me energy, or it stresses me out, or it's part of like my anxiety spirals. And learning how to communicate differently, learning how to really join forces energetically with your partner, like it's such a beautiful thing. And you just like see those gifts show up, like in the tenderness and the way that they treat you, and just truly like understanding that it's coming from that place of love. And so many women are just afraid that their man has it out for them, or doesn't care about them, or is selfish or lazy, or like whatever, you know,
Mhm.
witnessed or experienced in the past. So I just see a comment. Someone's asking how long is Goddess Wife School. So I'll just take a minute just to say that we're starting Goddess Wife School, this live round, on February 22nd. It's a 10-week live journey with pre-recorded videos and workbooks that you can like really easily do. But there's a really powerful sisterhood community in a private Facebook group, and we have weekly live calls, and you get a solidarity sister. And then if you sign up as a VIP, you get to be in my private Goddess hotline. And for those of you that are signing up this week we're doing a bonus call on Sunday. It is my spoiled wife energy activation call. And there's also an extended payment plan right now that you could do $180 a month, because I really wanted to make it as accessible as possible for every woman that's out there. Hey, Sydney. I'm so glad that you're here. And Aline, thank you so much for asking that question. But I also I know that we can talk about all these really tender examples.
I know. I have to get to the hot thing. That's what I was going to say too.
You got to talk about
the
money and the success and the book deal and all that kind of stuff.
This is everything that happened. So that was like the lead up in like December and like what was going on then and like into the beginning of January. What was funny was like once I was better with COVID, it was like he couldn't keep his hands off me, which like we haven't had that in a while. And it was a period of probably like, it was like maybe like a week, 2 weeks or something where it was like we were like fucking all the time. Like not all the time, but it was like compared to like how things were before, it was like, wow, okay. And it was like, not like the routine wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, we get off and we go. It was like very much like, changing positions and like, being sexy with each other. It was like lots of fun things like that. And like that is, I will be honest, that has since dropped off. But that was another important thing that we had discovered too, where it was like, him being stressed out in this program, it was like, or in this PhD program, I learned like, because I learned not to take anything personally, because that was the other thing. It's like I learned how to have conversations with him. And so like we had a previous conversation, thanks to Goddess Wife School, where he was basically like, I don't have energy for it. And I'm also like, I'm not even masturbating. He was like, I'm not even doing that. And like, he's always been somebody who it's like very hypersexual. So I realized I was like, oh, this has nothing to do with me. Like, this has nothing to do with me. This is all stress levels, energy levels, whatever. Like, it's not me. And so like when things did drop off, it was like, we've just found other ways to connect too, where it's like, even if like we're watching a TV show, like, it's like, he's like got his hand on my leg. He's like, or he'll like just hold my hand or something. It's like, we have more connection. And like, he also feels more welcome to bring concerns about me and about us to the relationship, because I don't have this like self-righteous defensive attitude anymore. Like I had basically like, the past like couple weeks, it's like I haven't wanted to go anywhere. Like he's been like, let's go get lunch. Let's go do this. Let's go do this. Let's do this. I've been like, no, I'm not in the mood. I'm conserving my energy. I'm tired, blah, blah, blah. I've been saying all this stuff. And then finally on Saturday, because he was like, I really want to like go get lunch somewhere. And I was like, so go somewhere, go treat yourself to lunch, whatever. And so he ended up just like picking something up, bringing it back. And he told me after, he goes, I don't want you to tell me to go do things by myself anymore. He was like, because I know that, like, I know I can do things by myself. He was like, he was like, that's my way of wanting to connect with you and spend time with you. He was like, so, and I was like, oh my God, I'm rejecting him. He's coming to me and I'm rejecting him. And I was like, you know what? And I immediately was like, you're absolutely right. Like, thank you for pointing that out. I was like, you're like, yeah, like, that's kind of shitty of me to do. And I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry I was doing that. Like, and I gave more context. I was like, I'm on my period. I'm like, I had a book deal come through. That was a big thing too. Like that was happening in December, but it came through in like the end of January last week kind of thing. So it was like, I was feeling things. I was having more fun with him. And so I was having more fun with my business and my potential clients. And then like what I realized when he said this to me, when he said like, I don't want you to tell me to go do things by myself because I know. And also this is me inviting you to connect. And I was like, oh my God, like it turned on a light for me where I was like, wait a second, what's going on? Like, why am I acting like this? This isn't like me. I am somebody who likes to go out and do these things. And that was the thing where I realized my depression had come back, and I would not have noticed it, or it would have taken me longer to notice if he hadn't said something.
Wow.
And so, and he didn't say, I think your depression has come back. He was like, I'm inviting you places because I want to connect with you. So don't tell me to go do other things.
First of all, I got to say that that's really sexy. Like when a man stands up pamper himself like that. And it's like, I'm
Yes.
not a little kid.
Yes.
Like, I'm not asking for your permission. And just the fact
Right.
that, like, now that you can listen, and now that you have that like safety in your relationship where he can share those truths with you without like setting off a war, or like, like this battle for like who's right,
Right.
who's
Like,
wrong.
I do everything. Why would you say that? La, la, la. Like, I just want to lay in bed one day. Like, no, like I just hear him now. It's just like,
Yeah, and
I
you
listen.
hear the words, and then also, there's sometimes when I talk about this stuff, it's kind of like esoteric, so
Mhm.
this way of like that your man is supposed to penetrate you and like open you up to things, whether it's
Yeah.
orgasms or realizations or creativity. Like, this is such an example of that, of him like
Mhm.
being like, finding his energetic place with you, and like, grounding down in his confidence, and like triggering something beautiful in you, and an awareness in you, like a healing in
Mhm.
you. Like, this is just such a beautiful example of that sometimes it's hard to put into words, but like you're having that in your relationship, like, and
100%. Yeah.
it's affecting your other relationships, your creativity, your businesses, like your book
He
deal.
has literally, yeah, like he has literally been like, he's saved me now from a few things where he's like, I think this one relationship, this one friendship you have is becoming codependent. He was like, I'm worried about how often you answer the phone when she calls. I'm worried about this. Like, he's pointed things out like that. Or like, if I've talked about like potential clients, or I've talked about people who reach out, or like conversations I had, he's been like, that doesn't sound like you, or that doesn't sound like your vibe. Like, even with this book deal, it was like I was talking to him the entire time, and I was like, let me share my concerns. It was like I did this like I had an interview, and it's funny because it's kind of like how I was when I was dating. My friends would say, I know you had a bad date, when you would come back and say, oh, he was so fun, he was such a great guy, but I just really want to be his friend. And they were like, then you start talking and you unpack things and you're like, that guy's a fucking asshole. Like, what? So it was like funny because I had this interview like with the book deal. Like, I had two publishers interested, and one was like a publisher I really loved, and so it was like they're the ones to beat. Okay, like this editor, this publisher, the ones to beat. And this other publisher came with like 5,000 more dollars for my book. But like the meeting I had with them, when I talked, like, I walked away and I was like, oh, they sound so cool. And like, whatever, like they're going to offer me more money. And I was like, not going to let the money sway me. I was like, and I was saying, I'm not going to let the money sway me, but I really enjoyed meeting them. And I think there might be something there. And like, I started talking to him about things, and he was like, what? Like, wait, they said what? Like, they said this? Like, are you sure? Like, and then I was like, actually, yeah, you're right. They don't get me. And like, they're not excited about this. And like, they're just seeing this as like a good investment, not as something that they're passionate about. Like, but it took me like going to him and being like, let me tell you everything, and like welcoming his input. It's like I get his opinion on everything now. Like,
Yes.
I decided to lower my prices. And so I told him yesterday, I did it after I announced it, but I was like, I did something a little crazy today, but I really stand by it. I lowered my prices. And he was like, why did you do that? And I like explained everything to him. And he was like, that sounds like a really wise decision. He was like, I'm glad you did, but you didn't ask me before you did it. And I was like, yeah, but if you had disagreed with me, I would go back on it. I would change it. And he was like, oh, okay. He was like, well, I think it's a good choice. And I was
Oh,
like, good.
that's that classic hand under the foot. Like,
Mm-hmm.
some people don't know. I know I talked about it in Goddess Wife School, but I gave my husband the keys to my business, and I told
Yeah.
him, look, if this business is ever makes me like unhealthy or bad for our family or a bad mom, or it's like fucking with our relationship, like I'm giving you the button that you
Yeah.
can tell me anytime, like
Abort mission. Yeah.
cancel, abort. And that's a really scary thing
Yeah.
to do because, I'm so passionate about this work, and I've worked so hard to get
Mhm.
to where I am. And, it's so meaningful for me. But that's how much I not only love my husband, but that I trust him, that he would
Yeah.
never, ever, ever do that, like, to hurt me in any way. And that he knows that I am just so open to receive his point of view, his feedback, or his constructive criticism. Like, I am here to listen, that if I'm showing up in a way that doesn't feel good, that is bad for our family, like that he's that important to me, our family is that important to me, that I will do what it takes to make
100%.
sure. Because
Yeah.
the thing is, like, you know, talking about listening to your husband, right? Because again, and it sounds so antiquated, you know, like all the feminist tendencies inside of me
Listen to your husband. It
you
sounds
know,
like
like,
that. Like, yeah. And
but
it's not
the
about
truth
that. Yeah.
is, the truth is that every criticism, feedback, time that he's like pushed back against me has been because he saw me suffering. He saw me destroying myself. He saw me like doing things from obligation instead of inspiration. And like, no matter what I tell him now, like in my business, like how many clients signed up or what I'm doing or whatever, he's happy, but it always ends with, as long as you're happy, as long as you're happy. And it's not this like flippant little thing. It's important to him. My happiness is important to him. My health is important to him. And to understand that the men that we're in relationships with, that is truly what they care about. Like,
Right.
it's such a life-changing understanding.
100%. Like, I mean, even back in like October, I started job hunting.
I
Not to like
remember.
give up. He was just like, you know, you're struggling. Like, you're not able to like you're struggling and it's making us struggle. And I was like, okay, then I'm going to get a job. And so I started like actively job hunting, which led me to like, you know, writing more, sharing more about like job hunting advice and career stuff and ranting about like the economy and companies and stuff like that. And that's what ended up me going viral on
Amazing.
TikTok. And then going viral led to like a contributing writer position at like a website, like a trade publication website. It led to an book editor finding me and now having a book deal. And it's like, that would not have happened if I wasn't like, he's right, I should look for a job. So it's like, it didn't get the results that like he was thinking of at the time, where he was like, go get a job to get stability. But like, it put me on this other path, me being like, yeah, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. Like, it'll be so much easier for me to show up in my business if I've got like $100,000 salary and doing this on the side, especially if I can do something that's remote. Yeah, fuck it, why not? Yeah, just put me on this completely different path.
Amazing. I
So it
remember.
hasn't been easy to like unlearn like this idea of like, I know best, I know better than anybody else. It's not like an easy thing to do, but it is something where it's really like, it's a big perspective shift. And it is scary to like, trust someone to that extent, especially like I have like an alcoholic, abusive father. Like, he's, you know, such an asshole. I mean, I love him. We've got a functional relationship now, but it's like, you know, my mom is like very like, you know, like she's very passive. She just does whatever he says. Like, you know, she'll vote for whoever he votes for. Like, she's just like very much like, you know, no opinions of her own, or she does, but she'll like would never disagree with him in front of people, or like disagree with him to his face with like things like that, right? Like, even if he's wrong, she will back him until she's blue in the face. And so that's what I had in mind as like, that's what it means to listen to your husband. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be like my mother. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to like allow my man to be an ogre who like abuses my kids. Like, that's what I had in my
Me
mind.
too. Me too.
And you just have to see it like in a totally different way to like, you know, get the love that you want, as cheesy as that sounds. Yeah.
Yeah, unless you are married to or partnered with an ogre, but most of us are not,
Or
you know.
not. No.
Yeah, that we don't want to relive our parents' experience and subconsciously like recreate or be in defense so that pain that doesn't get repeated, you know, into
Right.
future generations. Jessie, I could talk to you forever.
I know, we have to go. I
You
have
know,
to
we
go. I
have to
have a
go.
call too. So
But thank you so much for popping on and sharing your experience. Like, there's so much about Goddess Wife School that it's hard to talk about in like social media posts and in emails, and so it means a lot to me that you would come on here and chat and share just even like just a slice of some of the amazing gifts and experiences you've had with your man and in your business and in your money and in your mental health from doing Goddess Wife School. So thank you so much. If anybody
of
wants to
course.
reach out to Jessie. I'm tagging her in this post, and I'm also sending her an affiliate link. So if anybody wants to talk to her about the program, she has a link for you.
I'm happy to answer any and all questions. Like, and I'm not somebody who lies. So like, I'm not like, I don't sell things people don't need. So if I don't think it's right for you, I would tell you, but I think this is generally like just a really good program for any kind of like high achieving woman, really, because it's like, it's, you have to learn the rules in order to learn how to break them in the right way. And I think that that's really what Goddess Wife School does, is it's like, all right, like keep being your high achieving bad bitch self, but here's how to be that version of you in this relationship, like in a different way. Like it's equally as bad bitch level. It's just, a different kind of bad bitch.
Yeah, where you can like roll with your man, like in deep partnership while you're being that bad bitch too. So thank you so much.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, whether Persephone is like goddess of spring or queen of the underworld, she is a bad bitch in both capacities. And like, you get to be that too. You get to have that duality.
100%. All right. So you guys can go to goddesswifeschool.com if you want to check out program details. You can message Jessie if you want her affiliate link or want to ask her any questions, or you can DM me if you guys have any questions. We start February 22nd. It's going to be a live program with amazing women. Actually, already a bunch of women are engaged and like engaged to be married. So this is a really cool program too, for even if you're not.
Do this instead of premarital counseling.
Oh my God, do this 100%
Yeah.
instead of premarital counseling. This
Yeah.
is like all this stuff I wish I knew before I got married. And yeah, we have a $180 payment plan that expires next week. And if you sign up before Sunday, you're going to get a special private invitation to my Spoiled Wife group activation call that's happening this Sunday at 3. So I hope to see you guys there. Thank you so much, Jessie. And I'll be going live basically every day until cart closes on the 19th next week. So love you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.